Brian Daboll has to lessen the load for Josh Allen. He just has to do this. I know a lot of people will look at the statistics and will say, well, Josh Allen is a 4,000-yard passer, 500-yard rusher. He's going to lead. He's most likely going to lead the NFL in total touchdowns. Josh Allen is a baller. Josh Allen is an MVP caliber player. Listen, I understand it. I've been a huge fan of Josh Allen. I've talked nothing but good about nothing but good with Josh Allen on this YouTube channel, at least over the last couple of years. It's very rare for me to come really, really hard on Josh Allen. But if we're being completely honest here, Josh Allen has too much on his plate. Josh Allen can't have 50 touches a game. That's Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton-like territory. And I'm not just talking about the later stages of Cam Newton's career. I'm talking about when he was in his prime with the Carolina Panthers. Lamar Jackson, where you give him too much. Not only is he the person that has to distribute the ball through your playmakers at the receiving and tight end positions, but he also is your best running back. That's Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson. And you see what happened, and you saw what happened with Cam Newton. Cam Newton, his body is done. His body can't really take the punishment that much anymore. You see what happened to Lamar. You see what's happening right now to Lamar Jackson, where his body is kind of starting to let him down a little bit. Because I'm telling you this right now, Lamar Jackson can't sustain rushing for 800 yards and then throwing the ball that many attempts. He's not going to sustain that for a decade. Eventually, you're going to have to give your quarterback some help. You're going to have to give him some receiving help, some line help. You're going to have to revolve around a scheme where Lamar Jackson is going to have to throw the ball a majority of the time. He just can't be this superior running quarterback. I'm telling you, in the NFL, it is impossible to sustain that for the next decade. It's impossible. So when I'm watching Josh Allen pretty much carry this load, especially in games where we don't have to put that much pressure on him to pretty much carry the offense, it pisses me off. Yes, there are going to be games where we need Josh Allen to have the carries that he needs to have. There are going to be games where we need Josh Allen to throw the ball more than 40 times a game. There are going to be times where we need Josh Allen to be that superstar where we know he can be. But there are a lot of games during this year where he doesn't have to be that superstar. And yet, somehow, in some way, Brian Daboll wants him to play hero ball. When Josh Allen throws that crossbody interception in the back of the end zone where all he needed to do was throw the ball away, that's Josh Allen's fault. And that's, of course, Josh Allen's fault. That's a rookie mistake. But when you give Josh Allen 50 touches a game, where it makes him thinks like he needs to do it, where he needs to perform at this level, where he needs to perform at a Superman-like level, I put a little bit of that on the offensive coordinator for developing that mentality, that persona for Josh Allen. It's something that just gets on me. It's something that just kind of gets on me. Now, of course, the last couple of interceptions that Josh Allen threw, again, were tip passes, but they still were turnovers. There were still a lot of throws in this game that Josh Allen did not have to make, that he could have said, you know what, maybe I should take the sack, maybe I should kind of throw the ball away here, play for another down, live for another down. But it's not just the Falcons game. There were a lot of games like the Jaguars game, right? You look at the Jaguars game. You look at the Patriots game the first time. There are a lot of situations and a lot of our losses where Josh Allen doesn't need to play the hero. There are times where you're gonna have to rely on the running attack, and not solely just rely on Josh Allen to be your best running back, but to give Singletary an opportunity. A lot of people say that Singletary can't handle the load. He can't handle it. Well, Singletary had over 100 yards today and 20 carries. It's the second time this year that Singletary, the best back on this team, had more than 20 carries. That's the fewest out of any starting running back in the NFL. At some point, you can rely on Singletary. That's the freshest running back in the league. He averages over 9 carries a game. Give him a chance to prove that he can handle it, that he can take the pressure off of Josh. Sometimes you're going to have to talk to your offensive line and saying, listen, you need to get your shit together because this is going to be a game where Josh Allen is not going to carry the load. He's not going to carry the load this game. Now, the good thing about this is that this game has shown that Singletary can be that guy. That this offensive line can create a running attack. That we can dominate the line of scrimmage. It has shown that we can do it. And yes, it's the Falcons. It's the worst rushing defense in the league, which still bothers me why Brian Daboll did not want to try to establish more of a run game in the first quarter instead of relying on it in the second half. Which further proves my point that Brian Daboll he wants Josh Allen to carry the load. He wants him to do it. But there are going to be games this year where our passing attack is going to be stoned. It's already happened this year. Matter of fact, it happened last year, even when we went 13-3 and Josh Allen had that MVP year. There are going to be teams which are going to absolutely match our passing attack stylistically. They're going to win that matchup. There are going to be games where Josh Allen is going to be stoned throwing the football. And if you're Daboll, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to rely on the running attack to try to create maybe some sort of balance to kind of help bail out Josh Allen a little bit? To try to get the defense's respect against the ground game, which can open up the passing attack and can get Josh Allen going a little bit? Or are you going to continue to force Josh Allen to throw the football and hope and pray that something works and hope that your defense can continue to try to keep your offense in the football game? Because it's been like number 2 for the entirety of the season. This game has shown that we can run the football. And that's a good thing. Because when we get to the playoffs, and when we go against a team like the Indianapolis Colts, who we all know what Indianapolis is going to do, they're going to run the football with Jonathan Taylor, but they're also going to create a lot of opportunities through the air, a lot of play action, a lot of underneath routes. Carson Wentz is not going to make those huge mistakes turning over the football through the air. He's not. It's a better version of what the New England Patriots are, only except that if they need to throw the ball 30 times, they can do that because they have the receivers at the outside. They have the skill position players at the receiving and tight end positions to not solely just rely on Jonathan Taylor to run the football. Tennessee is more than capable of doing that, where they don't just solely have to rely on the running attack to win games. Cincinnati, we all know Cincinnati can do both. They can throw it on you 50 times a game, or they can rush it on you 30 times a game. Cincinnati, we all know, can do both. So there are going to be games where defensively they're going to match up well against our passing attack, against our offense, against Josh Allen. And it's Brian Daboll's job, it's his responsibility to figure out ways to not just make Josh Allen the guy, or to not make just your receivers the guys. You have to try to create some type of rhythm for your running game. Because at the end of the day, your running game can win you football games. It's been proven that it can happen. Can Daboll do this? Can Daboll do this consistently, like he did in the second half with our rushing attack? Can he do this consistently? I don't know. Matter of fact, I probably doubt that he can do it. I would not be surprised at all that if we get to the playoffs and if we don't perform well offensively, Brian Daboll is going to have to force Josh Allen to throw the ball more than 35, 40 times a game and hope that we could try to find some sort of rhythm. I don't doubt that Josh Allen could be the guy. Because, matter of fact, he is the guy. I think he is the guy. But we don't have the weapons right now on the receiving and offensive line to get us to where we want to get at right now, and that's the Super Bowl. But at some point, our coaching staff has to help out our offense. We have to help out the best 11 that's on the football field. They can't just put the load on one or two players. You have to put our offense, the best 11, in the best possible situation. And I wonder if Daboll can do that. I wonder if he can do that.